I'm so glad you're with us here on the Clark Howard Show. You know, our mission is to serve you with advice and information that empowers you so you make better financial decisions in your life. And I'm going to start today with an important warning for you when you book airline tickets. This is an important consumer warning, especially for people who book infrequently. I also want to tell you about how important it is to shop for your prescriptions. There's new information about how important it is not just to go to where you've gone to get your prescriptions. So there's been story after story after story about people who get to the airport to fly and they don't exist with the airline. And people are having their money stolen repeatedly by sketchy pretend travel agencies that are showing up when you search for a deal. And you'll see at many different sites where you can search for airfares, there will be a list after you say, oh, I like that deal. And then it'll show you a list of places you can book with. Unfortunately, a lot of those, and this is also true in the hotel business as well, a lot of those are really sleazy sketch or aren't even real agencies. And they're paying to be listed, and I'll see this over and over again with flights and with hotels where there will be some UFO listing really cheap prices. And out of curiosity, because I don't use any site that I have not checked, I'll go and look, and it turns out that they'll have like a Trustpilot rating of 1 out of 5, or there will be all these reviews on TripAdvisor or wherever. This happened to me, that happened to me, the other happened to me. And so these pseudo pretend sleazy kind of travel agencies with the airfare searches and the hotel searches are really, really living on the edge between legal and illegal. And repeatedly, people will pay their money and they show up and there's no room at the inn because they didn't actually have a valid hotel reservation, or there's no seat on the plane because they never had one. And I'm reading these terrible stories about people out thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for trips they plan for and look forward to and all that. And they get there and they're like, who are you? We don't know who you are. And know that this is a big, big problem. Customer service problem would be the most inane and not thorough way to explain it. There are a lot of con artists out there in the world of travel. Travel is so popular, and there are so many people who travel infrequently and don't know how many scamsters there are out there. So I challenge you, when you're looking and you're doing a multi-hotel search or airline search, and you'll see a price and you go click and you see the list of all the places you can book with, start checking to see what's really going on with whoever that is who says you're booking. And, oh man, it's heartbreaking. And then, as I've shared before, if you do a Google search or any other search engine, but most searches are with Google, and you're searching for a number, a phone number, or even potentially a link to the website of an airline or a hotel or whatever, the results that come up overwhelmingly are phony. They are not the real deal. Many times you can tell by if you click on a link and you see what is in the address bar, toolbar. What do you call that thing? Address bar, toolbar, both of those work. Mm-hmm. Okay. you'll see that you put your mouse over it. You'll see it's not that hotel chain. It's not that airline, whatever. And guess what? There is no help for you when you get scammed that way. The only hope is if you paid with a credit card, not a debit card, an actual real credit card, and you did so within the last 60 days, you may be able to dispute the charge. Well, you will be able to, but you may or may not be successful with that dispute.
Let me correct what I said. I didn't mean address bar, because really what it is if you're hovering over the link, it's the URL that you see, what the link says. That's what's important.
It's the real one.
Yeah, you don't want to go click on it, and then you'd see it in the address bar. Then you've already clicked. So I said that wrong. I apologize.
But the point is,
stinks.
Be very, very cautious and careful who you're booking through. And by the way, with the hotels and with flights, a lot of people, when there's bad weather, have a cancellation because of that or whatever it is, have a lot of trouble when they book through legitimate third-party booking sites. I mean, we get those complaints about the big-name legitimate players. So it does create a reasonable argument for why you should book direct and not with a third party for airline flights, because when the chips are down, who are you going to call? And when you call the third party booking site, they may or may not be that interested in helping you. And many times the airline won't, because they say, well, you got to call whoever you originally booked with. So just a fair warning for you. But the bigger problem is not that. It's the thieves in our midst that pretend to be something they're not.
All right. Chris in Florida wrote in with this. In working for a roadshow for Costco, it's your ideal job, Clark.
Should I do that?
You'd be a door greeter. Is there?
No, the roadshow thing would be fun. You go around and you're showing off the men's suits, or you're showing off some kind of fancy $1,000,000 chair that people can lay down.
Yeah, but you'd be like, you could get a much better deal on this elsewhere. You wouldn't be a good salesperson.
I would not be a good salesperson, would I?
All right. Sorry, Chris in Florida, working for a roadshow for Costco. There is an option with this company to have them provide a rental car for business travel to the Costco roadshows throughout the Southeast region, or they will pay 67 cents for mileage to use my own car. Is it financially better to use my low-maintenance Toyota with good miles per gallon, or take the car rental?
Okay, great question, Chris. So you're talking about the IRS rate, current IRS rate, 67 cents. Unless you have an older Toyota that has depreciated out a fair amount, you're not going to benefit from using your own vehicle unless it's much more convenient for you than doing the rental car. The 67 cents at what vehicles cost now for insurance, for your own insurance and everything involved, the depreciation on the vehicle, if you got a loan on it, the cost of the loan and all that. A lot of models now show that the cost per mile is well beyond $1 a mile. And the 67 cents would not be a good reimbursement rate unless it's an older vehicle.
In this case, though, wouldn't it you just should consider depreciation, because you're already going to be paying the insurance? And
except insurance adjusts based on how many miles you drive a year. Mm-hmm. So if you're driving your own vehicle, you're putting a lot more miles on the odometer. You know how they'll ask, how many miles are you driving a year?
Well, I mean, this is just for 1 year, though, it sounds like. I don't know.
Okay.
I was just wondering. It's the Clark Howard Show. You know what you're doing. I was just curious.
No, I don't always know what I'm doing, and I really appreciate it when you ask a question like that. But I would not be ecstatic if somebody's driving an older vehicle. Yeah. Then it's heavily depreciated out. There's a big advantage to taking the money, particularly with one that gets great fuel economy.
That's true, because you're paying your own gas. Okay. This came in from Ruby in North Carolina. Hi, Clark. My father made me listen to you in the car growing up. Because of that, I already have a Roth IRA and graduated from college debt-free. I know you're an avid fan of Costco. I also love Costco, but it's more so because I like the vibe and free samples. The last few times we've been there, the free samples have been few and far between. So I was wondering if you knew when's the optimal time to go to get the most free samples.
So in most regions of the country, you're going to see by far the most samples on the weekend, and typically right around lunchtime, a little later than lunchtime, maybe around 12:30, 1 o'clock, somewhere in there, you're going to see the greatest number of samples. But, if you go to a Costco on the weekend, you know how crowded they are. And for a lot of people, those crowds are not worth the free samples. For others, they fight the crowds just to get the free samples. What's your favorite free sample you get at Costco?
I'm not sure. Well, I like when they're sampling coffee. I love coffee. So that's probably my favorite.
They do sample a fair amount
They do.
of coffee,
I do like that, yeah. Okay, Joe in Connecticut says, thank you for your excellent advice to freeze my credit with the 3 credit bureaus. A couple of months ago, someone fraudulently applied for a credit card using my identity. The bank sent me a letter stating that I need to unfreeze my credit file in order to proceed with the application. I immediately contacted the bank to let them know this was fraudulent. Fast forward to last week, I received a similar letter from the same bank. Obviously, someone has my information and is trying to apply for credit using it. Here's my question. Are there any steps other than keeping my credit frozen that will mitigate my exposure?
So if somebody has all your personal information, there are other things that they might do to mess with your reputation and identity. But I don't even want to get into those because I don't want to create undue anxiety or paranoia. You've done the most important thing, Joe, because the most direct thing that happens most often when someone has your personal information, because of the repeated data breaches, people you can figure almost certainly have your social security number. They probably have your mother's maiden name, your current and prior addresses. They've got everything they need to pretend to be you. And so credit freeze is the best defense you and I have. It's free to do. And you just gave a perfect example, Joe, that I hope will have people who roll their eyes every time they hear me talk about credit freeze, have never frozen their credit, and they're like, that's never going to happen to me. You showed the process working like it's supposed to, that the credit freeze blocked someone from causing havoc in your life, you having to deal with cleaning up a mess. The credit freeze did exactly as designed. And as far as other things, let's wait and see if the criminals mess around in your life any other way. And we'll talk how best to mitigate that. But do what Joe has done. Freeze your credit, because if you have not, there will come the day you will regret it. It's free to do. It takes about 15 minutes or less total. It sounds like an insurance commercial. Anyway, in 15 minutes or less, you'll be able to freeze your credit files with all 3 bureaus. It affects none of the credit you already have. It just prevents a criminal from pretending to be you and applying for new credit as if they're you. Simple to do. You want to know how? Go to clark.com/credit freeze. Coming up ahead, new action by the feds against these prescription plans we have at work, cheating us. And you need to know what you need to do to protect your wallet when you're filling that script for yourself or a family member. Health insurers are a very interesting lot, and they have their fingers in so many different pots, including, in addition to reimbursing for healthcare expenses, they also offer prescription drug plans, what are called PBMs, prescription benefit managers. And some of the biggest health insurers also own a prescription drug plan. United Health owns Optum, CVS owns Caremark, and Cigna owns Express Scripts. And these groups have been accused repeatedly of taking kickbacks and in turn charging you more money for your prescriptions than the free market price. And as I've shared with you again and again, this is my experience, that with almost every prescription drug I take, I can fill the prescriptions cheaper on my own without insurance than what they cost through the pharmacy benefits manager. And this is because of the kickbacks that these organizations supposedly to benefit you are receiving from the drug manufacturers. And those kickbacks are then made up through charging you higher prices when you fill them through your supposed prescription benefit. And that's why more and more people are becoming savvy about the ability to fill a prescription on your own for a lower price than what it is at the program that you have through your employer. And so the cheapest prices are going to be at the warehouse clubs. And you'd probably add Walmart into them. We've got Mark Cuban's discount drug program. There are any of a number out there, plus the independent cards like GoodRx and their competitors. And you'll find that if you start price shopping the prescription drugs that you fill routinely, that you will save money bypassing the supposed employer benefit that ends up being to your detriment when you do not buy drugs independently. And employers are busy. They're just trying to run programs, and they believe in good faith they're providing a benefit to their employees by providing prescription benefit plans. And employers don't even realize, even the bosses filling their own prescriptions think that they're benefiting from using the pharmacy benefits manager plan that the employer is provided to them. And it turns out they're not. In, I'd say, about 80% of the prescriptions people fill. Now, where does the rubber meet the road? And where are these pharmacy benefit plans beneficial? If you're having to fill an expensive prescription drug, let's say it's not available in generic, or they're ripping you off on the generic like has happened with insulin. That's where the federal action has been. Filling it through the employer plan will likely be cheaper unless there's some code or coupon you can get to fill that brand name drug. So just know that your employer is not actively trying to cheat you. It is the insurance companies that own these pharmacy benefits managers systems themselves that are cheating you as the end consumer by getting the kickbacks and then inflating the cost of the meds that you buy through their supposed benefit program. And you will find if you do shop around, you're going to save money just paying cash. Cash doesn't mean cash. No. It means not involving your insurance.
All right, we'll go to questions here. This one's from Dylan in Utah. I need some help on whether or not I should buy a new vehicle. I currently have a 2018 F-150 truck with about 80,000 miles on it, and it has not been a very reliable vehicle under my ownership. My employer provides a monthly stipend of roughly $500, which increases when I put business-related miles on the vehicle. So it's kind of similar to the other question,
yeah,
but
we had
a little
earlier
different.
In this
but
podcast.
It is only tax-free if the vehicle is 4 years or newer. Last year, I missed about 75% of my regular salary paychecks in December because it all went toward taxation of that stipend as income.
Wow.
I got a Cars.com offer for $25,800 for the F-150, which means I will likely have to pay cash for the difference between that and a car that is newer than 4 years old. Does it make sense for me to upgrade? Help.
So the question, Dylan, you got to figure out how much additional tax you paid. You missed those paychecks because it was making up withholding, but you need to know how many dollars that really is versus the cost of you upgrading to a newer vehicle, how much that's going to actually cost you per month for that. I'm guessing, not knowing, that it may be cheaper for you to not replace the vehicle and not get the full reimbursement tax-free that you're getting right now. The employer would be much fairer to you likely if they went to paying per mile instead of giving the monthly stipend. But there's another thing here. You brought in an X factor, and that is the reliability of the F-150 pickup truck. And I don't want to pile on. You said it's not been reliable. Ford just scored the lowest of all automakers on reliability in a Consumer Report survey they've never done before. Vehicles at 5 years of age and 10 years of age. The lowest score at a 26, if I remember. The best companies got in the 70s.
Wow.
So that could be a determining factor beyond just these dollars and cents, that the vehicle may, as it ages, with 80,000 miles on it, may be continually less reliable. And that could be the tipping point in making a decision here.
Heidi in Georgia says, I opened a Raisin account based on Clark's advice. I have been happy until very recently when they instituted a cash account funds transfer procedure. In order to withdraw money,
I'm familiar with this.
You have to first move it into the cash account. They say this takes 1 business day, but I initiated my withdrawal on a Sunday, and it has finally shown up in my cash account today so that I can then transfer it out to my external checking account, which will take another day or more. You're not earning interest during this period while they hold your money. I feel like I'm getting ripped off. Can you look into it?
So this is the same complaint we've had about Charles Schwab, and this is becoming a common practice in the investment world and the savings world, where when you move your money into a high-yielding account, that there is a lag period where the money goes from your account into that high yield. Then when you want to exit from it, you have the 1 business day period where you have to wait for the money, the position to be sold, the money to be credited to your account, and you lose during that period of time. They're making money on the float. You lose money on that, and it is a friction to the system. And I understand why you feel ripped off. And it is becoming a common structural practice that you'll see at more and more firms. There have been a number of lawsuits about it. We'll see how all those get resolved. But if your money's been in the Raisin account long enough, this is a minor impact. If you hop in and out of it or any other account like at Schwab, you're in and out quickly, you're going to suffer a lot from those days you don't get interest.
Luke in Michigan says, I recently made a purchase my credit card provider flagged as fraudulent. I received a text message and responded it was legitimate. About an hour later, I received another text regarding the same purchase, this time stating I needed to call their fraud number, which I did. I answered their challenge questions and my card was unlocked. However, about an hour later, I received another text about the same purchase and was told to call their fraud number again, which I did. Went through the same process. At the end, the rep told me they needed further confirmation of my identity and that I would have to log onto a website, upload a short video of me talking, and also send them a copy of my driver's license. I refused, stating the purchase was legitimate and I wasn't giving them my biometric data. They said they could snail mail me a letter with a code and I could call back at that time to unlock the card. I said fine. I now have had to go through this snail mail verification process 3 times. They unlock the card, but the very next time I use it, the account gets locked again and they demand my biometrics data. What are Clark's thoughts? Should I just dump this card? Are we heading to a day where no one can use a credit card without providing biometrics?
This is quite extreme and obviously horrific customer no service. That's Groundhog Day. Every time you use it, they lock you down again. Do you know who the issuer is?
It's Synchrony.
All right, the one I always mispronounce is Synchrony.
Right.
Synchrony has a horrific customer no service reputation, one of the worst in the banking and credit industries. And they have apparently earned their really bad rating for customer no service. And Synchrony obviously has no ability in their system to realize that they have got you in this feedback loop where repeatedly they're treating you like dirt and saying, prove it, prove it, prove it who you are. Obviously, they're telling you they don't value your business. And I would say that you hopscotch here. You don't just dump the card, apply for another one, know you're approved for it, and then dump the Synchrony card. And by the way, I've been really harsh on Synchrony over and over again. And as I've offered before, if they ever wish to have someone come on the podcast and rebut what I've said about Synchrony over time and having really sketch customer service, I'm happy for them to do so. And I'm sad to say we're out of time on today's podcast. I hope that you've learned something today that you can put to work and is useful in your life. And I appreciate the puzzles you sometimes give me, like, should I do this, do that, like the F-150 question, the one about the Costco mileage reimbursement, all those for the roadshow person. I love these kind of things where I'm putting my brain into overload trying to come up with what would be the best, most practical answer for you. And we're all about helping you make good personal financial decisions, money decisions in your life. And ultimately, the goal is to give you strategies, techniques, and ideas that help you save more and spend less. And don't let anyone ever rip you off. And we will be at your service tomorrow, but we also serve you around the clock. And one thing I'd love for you to know about is our free newsletters available that you can sign up for that give you all kinds of advice about ways for you to stretch every dollar. If you go to clark.com/newsletters, you can see what we got. Remember, they're my price. They're free. See you tomorrow.